except for Instagram, which is always has a slight delay, but it's all good.
Yeah.
We will do this. Come on, Insta. Be good to me. There it goes. Sweet. All right. Awesome.
Hey.
Hey. Well,
Hey.
welcome to another fantabulous inspiration behind the stories. This time, I'm here with Jordan Rosenfeld, the author of Fallout. And I've got to tell you guys, I know I keep saying this, and everyone's probably like, she is so full of BS. But Jordan's manuscript that she had submitted to us, it was one of those that, like, literally everyone like fought over that they wanted to work with her on it. So
Oh my God.
it just demonstrates how killer it is. And if you look at, go to the review that we have in the banner from Forward, it basically just reiterates all the reasons why it is just an absolutely fabulous manuscript. So,
Thank you.
putting that out there. So let's just jump in.
Yeah.
Gotta ask. So, what was the moment that made you say, "Oh my gosh, I have got to write this book"?
I'm worried it's a depressing answer, but the story deals with heavy issues, but I feel like it's not ultimately a depressing book. So honestly, there was a really sad story in my community of a young child with a brain tumor who was the same exact age as my son, and it happened in the midst of like the worst drought California was having, right? So it was like all of this just kind of breaking me stuff going on, and I needed a channel for my feelings. And so I latched onto the idea of a journalist because I used to be a journalist, and like, it just sort of funneled toward through her. But that ultimately, I would say, is not exactly what the book is about, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Wow. So, again, just expanding off of this. So,
Yeah.
what first actually sparked this specific story, the narrative itself?
Um, I mean, really, it was what would a woman, a mother in her worst grief, who also had always been attracted to justice and stories that about, people um, taking on the truth, the right thing to do. What would she do when she kind of had nothing to lose? And it's funny because in a lot of ways, it really evolved into a story about angry, grieving women trying to take down corrupt men and harmful corporations, which I think has become a very timely topic. So, yeah.
And beautiful, beautiful
Hmm.
segue into the next question. So, why
Hmm.
this story? Why is it important
Yeah.
now?
And it's funny because I wrote the story like in pieces, like it started at 10, even 12 years ago, and I worked on it over time. So at the time that I was working on it, I don't know that I even thought it was timely, except for maybe the climate related pieces. But it wasn't until it was published, honestly, and our political landscape has changed. There's been a lot of stuff with the Epstein files revelation. So I feel like my book, like I said, it's really about angry, grieving women trying to get justice from people who have harmed women, the land, the world. And so I think it's very timely now. But I didn't actually know that, or didn't expect it would be at the time that I wrote it. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, what questions were you obsessed with? And apologies, there's something bugging me that I need to. Okay.
That's okay.
um, what questions were you obsessed with as you
Yeah.
were actually writing the story?
Yeah. Well, there were a couple. The one that kind of coalesced the longer I was working on it was really like who has power and who doesn't, and what does that dynamic look like when you sort of try to upend it? Like how do the powerless take power, and what does that look like? And I think also I was obsessed with what it looks like when, I was really. It's a story also about motherhood and like what women always have to put aside in order to, like, women are always asked to put aside their lives or their careers or their passions or their dreams. And so it was really looking at like what does it look like when, women get to be powerful in the world? Do they have to sacrifice motherhood? Like it's that whole dilemma, like, can you have it all kind of thing? Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, great answer.
Yeah.
um, now, taking 100 steps back, who
Yeah.
is the story about? Who's the the core characters in this narrative?
There are three co-protagonists. I'd say the true well, the true protagonist is Justine. She's a 30-something journalist mother grieving the loss of her child in a way that the loss of her child feels like something she feels a bit responsible for because of how obsessed she was with her work, but she's not. The second co-protagonist is a very wealthy, privileged woman who's going to end up really having to look at her complicity in some things and also have her life completely upended, although she has a sort of secret, dark backstory. And then her 19-year-old daughter, who gets kind of caught up in all of the chaos that unfolds unwittingly, and sort of how these three characters change each other and the the outcome of the story of themselves. Yeah.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah.
Now what's at stake if things go wrong?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, literally every character's life, they
Oh
stand to
wow.
lose their life as they know it. I don't necessarily, I mean, there is threat of death, yes, but each character stands to lose the sort of comfortable life they have established for themselves. In some ways, Justine has already lost the worst thing possible, but so she's acting from a place of having nothing to lose. So it's sort of, in her case, it's sort of realizing what does she have to live for. And in the other two characters, it's really about they've lived these very, very padded lives. And so they risk those things, but they risk it for a greater moral clarity, integrity, and sort of doing the right thing. And then it's sort of, what happens in that regard. Yeah. And those are not easy things to give up. We always think if called to do the right thing, we would just do it. But you realize life is complicated.
Mm, wow. Great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, what kind of an emotional ride should a reader
Mm.
expect as they explore this?
I think it's a very intense ride. I've gotten that response from a lot of people. I think you will feel angry, you will cheer, you will feel I think I so here's what I'd say. It's a ride where you sort of start out feeling a little bit worried for every character, wondering if they're going to get what they want, and then you sort of end up cheering on these people doing things that you might even say are questionable, but they're sort of questionable in the right direction, if that makes sense. So it's not like a lighthearted beach read per se. At the same time, I think because the pace is so quick, I've heard from a lot of people that they were like, "Well, I sat down to read, a few pages, and the next thing I knew, I was, basically almost finished with the book." So just be prepared for intensity. That's what I would say.
Got it. Cool. Now what part of this book did you find to be the
Mm.
hardest to actually write?
I think despite there's like some pretty big grief and things like that, that was not the hard part. It was writing characters who, like Zoe, who is this the wife of a wealthy man and who hasn't had to struggle since her childhood or her young adulthood. And so I had to find a way to like her, even though I didn't really like her. And so it was really that was my biggest challenge. So what I did is I gave her qualities I could relate to. She's a woman in midlife going through some changes, and she had a fucked up childhood. Oh, am I allowed to swear? Whoops.
Yeah, you can swear, I don't care.
Okay.
Go.
She had a shitty childhood that shared some themes in common with mine, not exactly like
Mm,
hers. And so I was like, that made it more accessible to me. Like if I have to know this character and care for her when I don't really like her,
mm.
I'm gonna have to find something to like. So eventually she actually ended up being my favorite character to write, or one of them. So just goes to show you.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so where were you in your life as this
Mm.
story took shape? And do you feel as though writing this changed you in any way?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Well, I was in different places because I started it when I was myself a new mom,
Mm,
or young, my son was young, like 5 or 6.
mm.
And I finished it when I was closer to 50. So I went, I was like 35 and maybe 48 by the time I finished it.
Wow.
So um, it was a really good outlet for a lot of things I was feeling, both in both stages of my life, both the young motherhood stuff where you just feel like you're putting your dreams on hold or you're struggling to do everything. And then later on when I was like really feeling frustrated with the state of the world or things that are happening around me.
Mm,
So it was very cathartic. Do I think it changed me? I think the reception to the book has been very heartening for me. I think every book probably does change you, but I don't know that I'm self-aware enough to say how. Um, I
Ah,
think if anything, what I'm really grateful I stuck with it because I was really going to stick it in a drawer. And so maybe what changed me was taking it seriously and saying, no, there is a place for this book, and reader reception has been really great. It makes me feel like it was worth putting out there. Yeah.
fabulous. Okay. Now, what surprised you the most while you were writing this?
Hmm. What surprised me? I have to think for a second about that. Um, I think so one version of this book had so the eco-anarchist characters are all women in this version. At one point they were men and women, and a friend of mine was actually the one who said, "Huh, I wonder what it'd be like if they were only women." And once she said that, like my brain went, "What would it be like to write a story in which like men are almost like peripheral players?" And of course, I love men. I've got lots of lovely men in my life. So I think what surprised me was that the capacity of women, the great capacity of women to do and be so many different things, to be capable of so many things, because there are a lot of actual eco anarchist women in the world, and they are some tough broads, let me tell you. So in writing them, I felt like I got to channel some qualities maybe in that I, not to say that they're present in myself that I am like them, but I think I was like, we are capable of so much. So I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. I don't know that I think the whole process of writing is surprising because you're like, you set out to write and then characters show up and you're like, what? Who are you? Where'd you come from? You know what I mean?
Why are you here?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So you already mentioned some of the characters that you found challenging. But just in case, like, what character really challenged you the most and how?
Okay. Well, I guess that's a good question. I mean, I'm writing about some characters who are pretty, I guess you could say evil or awful in a lot of ways. And so I think, well, I don't want to say the name of the character because it gives away things. Let's just say one of the characters who ends up being kind of a key villain, um, he challenged me because it's hard for me to put myself in a mindset of what it's like to have no empathy, to do things, from a perspective of just like, I want what I want, I take what I take, I deserve it. So that was really challenging for me to do without it just being stereotype, like a kind of a trope.
Hmm.
So I think I struggled with that, and I'm trying to think. I think the rest of them I felt like I could find a way in pretty easily. Like, all characters take work, but it was probably that. And my husband's funny because he's like, "There's not a single likable male character in your book," but he wasn't saying it as like an insult. He's like,
Hmm.
it's not really meant to. There's like maybe some somewhat sympathetic, but like not really. And I was like, well, it is a message. There's kind of a theme running below it.
Duh.
Yeah, right. We're not really meant to like these particular men, let's say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I just love that he commented on it. Like,
Oh yeah. No, he
what
read
are
it.
you
He
trying to
read it
do?
and he liked it. And I don't let him read things in advance because he is a former English teacher and a psychologist, and I don't know that I can bear his what would probably be very good feedback, but I just can't hear it until until it's done.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Seriously. My
Yeah.
gosh, what a combination.
I know. I know. He's really smart. And so,
Wow.
sometimes you just your partner can't be your reader.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you on that. Yep. Now what almost didn't make into the book and why did you keep it in?
Mm. What didn't almost make it in?
Did not. And then I'm going to ask you, is there anything that you wish you did put in? Just heads up.
I'm forgetting what didn't almost make it in. That's funny. What? Well, I mean, what I can tell you the other what didn't make it in.
Okay, okay.
So originally the story, so my main character, I don't think it gives anything away to say that Justine kind of has this, she goes into a fugue state on the anniversary of her daughter's death. Like she kind of snaps emotionally, and she's not been dealing with that grief very well. And this is, like I said, not a spoiler. It comes through in the first chapter pretty quickly. But in the original draft, she really snapped. She got somebody sent her like a link about nuclear fallout, which is where the title really originally came from. Nuclear fallout making in Japan and the tsunami, then making its way
Mm,
to California waters. And so in her fugue state, she snapped and thought, like, oh my God, we're all going to die. Kind of, it went really dark. And so that was like the original impetus. And then over time, I decided I didn't want her to be psychotic. I just wanted her to be struggling. And so that first chapter, which I really did like, ultimately did not make it into the book.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly, I love that you didn't make her like completely psychotic because I feel like
yeah,
a lot of thrillers, like they just kind of immediately go there.
yeah,
And I love that you made the characters more complex than that,
yeah.
which I think causes it to really hit home more,
Mm,
even more so,
thanks.
and broadens your your readership, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
I think so too. And I don't like stories where that's kind of used as the reason why someone behaves badly, right? Like a
Mhm.
mental illness. And in her case, it's more just like grief. I mean, we know grief changes us just dramatically. I know people whose entire life upended over a loss. So I didn't think that was very far fetched. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
funny, my, this is gonna sound this might sound trite, and I don't mean it that way.
No.
Um, but, like, my, cat passed away from kidney disease, a couple months ago, and when she
Mhm.
passed, they actually provided, like, "Here's, things that you should be aware of in terms of, mourning,
Yep.
that's common, when you lose someone, um,
Right.
means a lot to you." And it was funny because as I was reading it, I'm like, "My gosh, this is the kind of thing that I remember when my father passed away."
Yeah.
You
Oh my
know,
gosh. Yeah.
I mean, things like that, you don't even realize it's like
No,
parts of your brain just sort of shut down because
they
it's
shut down.
so much trauma that you're dealing with, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because we also lost a cat a couple months ago to kidney disease,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it was right in this window where I was also doing some caretaking of my mom after surgery, and my
Mm,
son was really hit hard, and so I couldn't be there for him, and I was so I know what you're talking about, and I also think any grief will kind of unlock older grief. So like if you've
mm,
lost your father and then you lose your cat, it's like it opens up those doors, and so I think grief is really surprising. I know enough people and have experienced it myself to know that we don't really know who we are until we grieve, right? Like we don't know what we
mm,
would be like in that moment or in
mm.
that process. So yeah, it's yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it can unlock a lot of empathy as well
Yeah,
because you suddenly there are things within your life that you suddenly realize, kinda back to the comment that you made, sometimes you don't know what the story's about until you're done writing it, and it could be like,
yeah,
months or years later, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's what this was really
yeah,
about." Yeah.
yeah. Well, and it's funny too because sometimes readers will tell you something they saw or a theme, and they'll be like, "Oh, did you do that on purpose?" And I'm like, sure." Like, "No, I did. I just wrote and it came out, and it was probably in my unconscious somewhere." But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
exactly.
funny,
Yeah,
mysterious process.
it's
Yeah,
okay, so,
yeah.
who do you think would actually fall hardest for the book?
It's interesting because I thought this would be a very, like, women-pleasing book, and I've been really surprised by how many men have read it and liked it. In fact, even one of my son's friends, so he's almost 18, said he really liked it. So what I think it is, I think the people who fall for this book are people who are looking for that sense of cathartic justice. They're
Mm,
feeling angry or frustrated about anything really in your life, but who are maybe especially in situations where you feel powerless. It
mm,
kind of gives a kind of feeling of like, because these characters in many ways are powerless and kind of find a way to be powerful, I would say, different ways. So I think it's the people who are, yeah, who are wanting a little sense of justice, a little sense of power, but not in a power hungry way, more like in
mm,
a righteous people who want to see, in the times we're living in, I think there's a lot of us feeling like the wrong, like justice isn't being served in a lot of
mm.
different ways. So I think if you want to feel that, you might get a feeling of like, oh, justice can be served in my
Ah,
story.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that readers come to you and they're like, "You know what? I totally was not expecting this."
A few readers have been surprised by one of the plot twists that I can't give away. It's like the major plot twist. They said they didn't see it coming, which I was surprised because I was like, "Isn't it obvious?" Which is good. I mean, you don't want it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be, but yeah. So the major plot twist with one of the one person who turns out to be the key antagonist or one of the big antagonists, you don't necessarily see the way in which that unfolds. So that was a surprise for a lot of readers. Um, I don't think there's been any other real big, like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
Mm.
Um, Not so much, but that one, yeah.
No, well, I mean, that's game
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah, yeah.
um, Now let's say someone reads the first 20 pages. What do you feel
Mm.
gets them to say, "Oh my gosh, I have to keep going"?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of mystery in the beginning, like why is this character obsessed? Why is she going on this? She's sort of taking this wild person's gambit and following it kind of against her, almost against at least the reader's better judgment. Like, think the reader's worried, like, why are you doing this? I know you're obsessed with these people. And so there's a sense of danger looming, a sense of like kind of unfolding what's going to happen to her.
Mm,
And that in that first, and I think the first chapter might be less than 20 pages. So that chapter ends
mm,
with like a big thing happening. And so I hope that makes the reader go, oh, we'll have to find out what happens next.
mm,
I try to write because, and that's the other thing. The first chapter that I originally cut was a lot more interior and slow. And
mm,
like, I think ultimately I decided it was going to take, the reader would have to like slog through.
mm, mm.
And so I didn't want it to be a slog. So
Got
keep
it.
that in mind. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Now, what mood do you feel like a reader should be in when they first dive in?
I feel like you could almost be in any mood, but again, that sense of like if you're feeling disempowered or you're having a hard day or you want to feel like a little drawn out of your experience, like yeah, I think it's a good book for making you feel a little bit like, okay, I'm on fire now. And the only thing I would say is for people who have experienced grief of particularly around child loss, although
Yeah.
I have to tell you I've had a lot of readers who have experienced it and still did not find it to be too much to read, but if anything, anyone who's had grief knows what it looks like. But I just warn people if you're like, I've been through something heavy and I don't necessarily want to revisit that. Maybe you want to take a while and wait till you're feeling more strong. But
Mm,
I think you can be in almost any mood other than that, other than actively grieving
got
to
it.
read it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like in one sentence, what
Mm,
do you think is like the core of the book?
I'm so bad at one sentences.
Okay, two.
Well, let me look. Okay. What is this? The core of this book. I mean, I would say this is a book. Hang on. It comes from a need for more of us to act from a place of love and caring for the most marginalized people, the environment, mothers, justice.
Mhm,
So this is a book about like what are we being called to step up to in this moment? Like
mhm.
what are you being called to in your life to step up for? I think is what I would say because my book might happen to be about climate change and it might happen to be about motherhood and grieving, but I think it's really ultimately about like how do we how do we rise to the moment and do the right thing?
Got it.
Yeah,
Beautifully, beautifully
yeah.
said. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to
Hmm.
chat about? Anything that we maybe missed?
The only thing I would say is in writing this book, we're living in times that there's a lot of activism and we see protests and things, and it's really easy to make light of that and think people are just like, oh, you're just getting out on the street, or activism looks a lot of ways, and I like to remind people that there's a lot of activism you never see because people are doing it all the time behind the scenes. So like whatever way, like showing up for the things that matters to you looks like, that's kind of what my book is also, I think, trying to say, like show up for what matters to you in
Mhm.
whatever way you can, even if that's just writing your emails or that's standing on a street or that's trying to take down corrupt people in more dramatic ways. You know, let's not like minimize those ways of showing up. Yeah.
Got it. Fabulous.
Yeah.
And with that, honestly, I just want to, Jordan, as always, it is such a distinct pleasure to have an
Mm,
opportunity to just chat. And
totally.
anybody who's watching, guys, don't miss this opportunity for the month of March. The ebook version of Fallout is available for 99 cents. So if you
Woo!
want to just explore, have a good time, do it, do it, do it.
Do
Uh,
it.
do it. And with that, as always, Jordan, such a huge pleasure. Love,
You
love, love you.
too.
And can't wait
Love
to the next
you. Thanks, my dear, so much for having me on. Yeah.
time. Ciao.
Ciao.